Nasty, vicious things written about us. Really awful things.
Did you take it personally?
Well, yeah.
Karen Carpenter was one of the most beloved voices of the 1970s. Her songs like Close to You, We've Only Just Begun, and Top of the World helped define an entire generation, turning the Carpenters into one of the biggest music acts in the world. But on February 4th, 1983, Karen Carpenter died at just 32 years old. And for decades, the world was told it was simply a tragic story of anorexia nervosa. Even her brother Richard Carpenter rarely spoke in detail about what really happened behind the scenes. But now, after years of silence, Richard is finally opening up, revealing the pressure, the exhaustion, and the painful reality he believes people never fully understood about Karen's final years, and the chain of events that may have quietly led to her tragic death. So what is Richard Carpenter finally admitting after all these years? And what did the world never see behind Karen Carpenter's fame? Let's get into it. Before the music. Karen Carpenter was born on March 2, 1950 in New Haven, Connecticut, the second child in a household that had already decided who the talent was. Her older brother Richard showed early aptitude for piano and accordion. He grasped music theory quickly, impressed adults easily, and became the center of the family's ambitions. Their mother Agnes made no real effort to hide her preferences. Richard was the investment. Karen was simply there. Their father Harold was gentle and soft-spoken, born in China to missionary parents, more inclined toward keeping the peace than disrupting it. He loved his children. He also avoided confrontation at almost any cost. When Agnes dominated decisions, he did not push back. When Karen was overlooked, he did not intervene. His absence from those moments was not cruelty, but it had consequences. Karen absorbed the lesson early. Approval was conditional. Achievement was acceptable only when it did not threaten the established order. The family's decision to move to California in 1963 was centered almost entirely around Richard's future in music. Los Angeles meant studios, connections, and opportunity, so the Carpenters packed up their lives in Connecticut and relocated to Downey. Karen's life simply shifted along with the decision. No one really considered what the move meant for her personally. Her feelings were treated as background noise beside the larger goal of supporting Richard's ambitions. And over time, those seemingly small moments of emotional dismissal shaped the way she saw herself. Where the music began. Karen Carpenter did not pick up drumsticks to become a star. She picked them up to avoid gym class because she disliked the running and the structured sports. She joined the school band at Downey High School in 1964 and was first handed a glockenspiel, which she immediately disliked. Then she watched a classmate named Frankie Chavez behind a drum kit and something locked into place. She begged to switch. Her parents spent $300 on a Ludwig kit, a serious expense. Karen practiced until her fingers bled. Her mother kept bandages nearby because the bleeding was constant. Within a year, she was playing complex jazz pieces. She studied under respected jazz drummer Bill Douglas, who had worked alongside Benny Goodman and Art Tatum. Richard later said she moved behind the kit as though she had been born in a drum factory. In 1965, Richard formed a trio with bassist and tuba player Wes Jacobs. Karen played drums, she did not sing. They won the Hollywood Bowl Battle of the Bands in June 1966, earned a contract with RCA Records, and were then quietly dropped without a single release. What nobody paused to notice was what the drums actually meant to Karen. She was not performing behind that kit, she was protected by it. It was the one place where her body and her mind felt safe, where she did not need permission to take up space. That safety was not a small thing, and she would not have it for long. Pulled to the front. When Herb Alpert signed Karen and Richard to A&M Records in 1969, the trajectory changed fast. Singles, radio play, awards. The Carpenters became one of the most commercially successful acts of the decade. But there was a problem the industry framed as practical. Karen was 5'4", seated behind a large drum kit, and audiences struggled to see her. The decision was made quickly and presented without much discussion. She would move to the front of the stage. A touring drummer would be hired to take her place. Karen resisted at first, then she agreed. Professionally, it was the right call. Before you knew it, her songs Close to You, We've Only Just Begun, and Top of the World dominated radio. The Carpenter duo skyrocketed to the top of the charts, winning multiple Grammys, the most prestigious awards in the music industry. What nobody acknowledged was what had just been taken from her. Drummer Sheila E. said years later that Karen's technical ability was extraordinary, that there were rudiments Karen played that Sheila herself still could not replicate. And yet Karen was moved away from the instrument that grounded her, placed alone at a microphone, expected to smile and perform perfection for audiences night after night. Cubby O'Brien, the drummer hired to replace her, later said the entire point of bringing him in was to get Karen off the kit so she could sing more. Richard wanted it. The label wanted it. And Karen, who had spent her whole life learning to minimize her own preferences, agreed to it. Richard has since acknowledged that the touring schedule during this period was relentless. 6- and 7-day work weeks, constant recording, no real pause. He admitted that he deeply regretted it. At the time, he believed the Carpenters could not afford to slow down. What he did not see clearly enough was what that pace was costing his sister. What no one stopped. By the mid-1970s, Karen Carpenter's physical decline was visible to anyone paying attention. She appeared thinner with each tour. Fans wrote letters asking what was wrong. Concert audiences reportedly gasped. Journalists noticed. The conversation, when it happened at all, stayed on the surface. Was she dieting too aggressively? Was she simply tired? In 1975, Karen weighed 91 pounds. That same year, the Carpenters canceled tours in the Philippines, the United Kingdom, and Japan. The explanation given was vague. No intervention followed. Anorexia nervosa was barely understood as a clinical condition at the time. It was not discussed publicly in the entertainment industry. Within the family, confusion and denial filled the silence. Agnes remained focused on maintaining appearances. Harold stayed passive. Karen herself minimized what was happening, continued to perform, and in a 1981 television interview, when asked directly whether she had anorexia, she told the host she was simply pooped. She knew. Those around her knew, and nobody knew what to do about it. In September 1982, she was admitted to Lenox Hill Hospital in New York. She gained 30 pounds through intravenous nutrition, but the weight gain came too fast and placed enormous strain on a heart already weakened by years of illness. On February 4, 1983, Karen Carpenter died at the age of 32. The cause was heart failure resulting from anorexia nervosa. Her blood sugar level at the time of death was more than 10 times the normal level. The coroner later confirmed that repeated use of ipecac syrup, used to induce vomiting, had played a significant role in damaging her heart. She had been fighting alone, in an era that had no real language for what she was fighting. Richard's reflections. For many years after Karen's death, Richard Carpenter spoke carefully. When he addressed her illness at all, it was brief, measured, and steered quickly back toward the music. That has changed. In more recent interviews, Richard has confirmed what speculation could only circle around. Karen's struggle with anorexia was far more severe than the public understood at the time. He has acknowledged that in the 1970s, there was no shared language for it, no industry support structure, and no clear roadmap for treatment. They did not know what they were dealing with. Not because they did not care, but because the tools to understand it simply did not yet exist. He has also spoken about the accumulation of pressures on Karen, the relentless touring schedule he now regrets, the scrutiny of her appearance rather than her talent, and the expectation that she perform perfection regardless of what was happening privately. Richard has made clear that her illness was not the result of one decision or one person, but the convergence of family dynamics, industry demands, and a personal vulnerability that nobody moved to protect. What stands out most in his later reflections is something closer to grief than explanation. He has said that a voice like Karen's appears only once every few generations, and that had she lived, she would have been recording well into old age. He has called her death a silencing, not just a loss. And in acknowledging that truth, he has also acknowledged his own limitations, his focus on arrangements and production, his inability to see clearly enough just how far his sister was unraveling behind the scenes. He did not frame this as blame. He framed it as a loss, which in many ways is more honest. Karen Carpenter was ranked among the 100 greatest singers of all time by Rolling Stone. That is one part of her legacy. But so is the quieter truth Richard Carpenter has spent decades finding the words for. That a family, an industry, and an era all failed to protect her, not out of malice, but out of silence. So what do you think? Was Karen Carpenter failed by the music industry, or by the people closest to her? And if her struggles had been understood the way they are today, could her story have ended differently? Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more amazing stories like this one.